Hi. I had a very profound day today, and I did some somatic work, and I released some things that I needed to. And I uncovered some things that I didn't even realize were these huge blocks that I've had in my life. So I went through this somatic exercise where we basically we kind of we were guided in this meditation, and we were looking back at some past wounds. And during this process, I was able to connect with some past versions of myself. And this is the second time that I've done this kind of thing. And I definitely connected with a young version of myself that I saw the last time I did this. And when I say young, I mean 3 or 4 years old. And I saw her again, and she wasn't hurt like she was the first time, but she was there. It was almost like she was guiding me to take me to the other version of myself. And there was one that was probably teenage around that time frame, and then one a little bit older, and then one around the same age too. So I didn't, I couldn't pinpoint any of these specific things at the time, but after um, going through the exercise, we were guided through, this meditation, and we would, we were listening to music, and we would shake our bodies in order to release this, these, these emotions that have been stuck in our body from this event. And later, as I was writing, I discovered that one of one of these versions of myself was from when I was about 20 years old. And at that time, I was, I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy Reserves as a way to help me pay for college. And I thought this was a good opportunity for me to not only, sure, get a little bit of help with college, but also I wanted to do something with my life, that I wanted to be a part of something that felt bigger than myself, and, felt like I had a purpose, and, things like that, which is like, so like I look back on it, I'm like, I really thought I could be doing something good by joining the military. And it's just very ironic, I guess. Anyways, so I pinpoint this memory. This the whole thing is meeting that version of myself that has been holding on to um, pain and has created a pattern in my life as a way of protection. And what happened was, this one in particular had to do with being seen. And so in my business, I realize I've had so many blocks when it comes to being seen. I have I fear being seen, and I also fear not being seen. There's this whole thing where I want to feel safe, and so my nervous system kind of freaks out anytime I try to do something that would, put me out there. And it doesn't know the difference between me being chased by a lion or this memory that I have. So, anyways, I feel like I'm a little all over the place, but I'm just trying my best to explain it. So, this memory of when I was 20, this was right after boot camp. I went to A school, and that is the period of time where you're training for your particular job. And I was a CB, which the Seabees are the construction force of the Navy. And I was an equipment operator. And so I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri to do my training. And it was already like the military is already like pretty male dominated, but even more so in the Seabees was the case. And you didn't see a lot of women. And then also, as far as like our instructors go, we had two women, and one of them was a chief, and the other one was a first class, I believe. And so I kind of like looked up to them. I was like, oh wow, there are women, other women here. Like I'm so glad. I feel like those are people I can look up to and kind of like try and be like, and whatever. And um, so I'm going through um, a school, and I find myself in a leadership position. And I was not like necessarily going out of my way to do this. And I feel like this is something that's happened to me so many times in my life. I somehow just kind of fall into this position, or I kind of like, I don't know, uh, I just step up, I guess. I didn't see it that way at the time, but I end up doing things that kind of set me apart as someone who is a leader. And so I had this position of being, I don't know, a squad leader. I don't even remember what it was, but so basically being someone who's in charge. And so with that, I would say that I didn't exactly get encouragement from the women that were in charge there. And if anything, it was more like they were scrutinizing and like extra harsh on me because I was a woman, which I was just like, okay. So anyways, there was one day where after we do muster or whatever, we wait to get on a bus to go to the to class. And by the way, they like weren't even buses. These were literally cattle cars. That's what we would be driven to and from. Sometimes we'd have buses, but yeah. Anyways, so we're waiting for the bus or the cattle cars, whatever you want to call it, and they decide they want to do a random inspection. And so they have everybody pull out their bags and empty out their pockets. And at this time, this was 2008, by the way. 2008, holy cow. um, and we were not supposed to have our phones. And, you know, I brought my phone with me, and I would use the time when we were on the bus to text my boyfriend back home at the time. And and it's not like it is now. Like you can't just be like on your phone all the time. Like anyways, different times. But I'm not saying it was right, but I'm telling you that's at the time I was 20 years old and I missed my boyfriend, and I all I could do was send him a text. Like in the morning. I was gonna take advantage of that, and so we empty out our pockets at this inspection, and of course they find out that I have my phone. I am not the only one with my phone, by the way. But wow, did they just rip me a new one? Like it was so embarrassing. And they were, just tearing me down, and, like things like, how could you do this, like you're supposed to be a leader, and you're setting this kind of example for other people, and super embarrassing. And so like I get like fired from my job or whatever. And the other part of that is that not only is that super embarrassing, but um you get I got my clothes, my civilian clothes, like my ability to wear civilian clothes taken away. So I had to wear my uniform everywhere. And it's like you have to go through a process. Like you have to go through like so many inspections a week or whatever, and you have to like pass. And after you do so many of those, then you earn, your ability to wear civilian clothes or whatever. So not only did I get like, ripped a new one in front of everybody, but I also no longer had I no longer had the ability to wear my own clothes. And so it was super demoralizing. And yeah, I like today is the first time that I've said that story out loud. And like I said, this happened in 2008. And I just the, I mean, I feel so much better knowing, knowing that that was the event that has caused so many blocks. It created this pattern for me. This I I held in my body that embarrassment and shame and like fear of being seen, because if I wasn't if I was going to be seen, then it wouldn't be up to someone else's standards and I would be ridiculed. And so in a way, I taught myself it's better to not be seen, because to be seen gives someone an opportunity to tear into you. And yeah, that didn't feel good at that time. And I really held on to that for like 17 years. Dude, isn't that wild? So, wow, that's just one big takeaway that I had today. And I just had to say it out loud and process that. So obviously today, as the 37-year-old, I have so much compassion for her, for the 20-year-old me who really, was just doing the best that she could and didn't deserve that level of scrutiny. I understand, it's in the military, whatever, but I, and I really, I just am really grateful actually, because um because that taught me, seeing how those women treated me. And that wasn't even the only thing. I remember there was one time when I was sick and I had to go to sick call, and they questioned everything. They like made me feel bad for even wanting to miss a day because I was so sick. And but that's just the game that the military plays, and then you go to, see the doc, and everybody gets freaking ibuprofen and I don't know, some other like NyQuil or whatever, like there's like a standard issue that they give you. It doesn't matter what you are complaining of. But yeah, so anyways, that was a huge thing. And man, I learned from that, a key takeaway from that is that I learned I did not want to be like those women were to me. And I have been in other leadership positions since then, and I don't think I always had this clarity in my mind, but it's interesting because I see it now. I see that I happen to come across more women who are like that to me. And yeah, it's really shaped the way that I show up as a leader, because I know for sure that like that was not the way to go. I don't sure, I guess because when you're in the military you got to be fucking macho or whatever, but that is not the way that I'm going to show up in the world, and it's not the way that I want to treat people. And I'm not going to put myself in a position where I have to be like that to anybody else, because it's like it's stupid and doesn't nobody deserves to be talked to like that. So that was one epiphany that I had that I really had to share. So I'm going to stop this recording right now, and yeah.